continuing lesson number 2, and we're going to finish today, B'ezrat Hashem. So we were discussing last time how a person wants to have the weapon of Mashiach, which is the power of prayer. And we can accomplish overcoming every obstacle in our lives just through the power of prayer. Now, how do we get a perfected power of prayer? We said, first of all, you have to guard the brit. Just like Reuven lost the Bechor to the Yosef because of the immorality sin he did with switching the beds. So Yosef, who guarded the brit, he got the power of the Bechor. The Bechor was supposed to do the Korbanot. The Beit HaMikdash represents the prayer. So you see the Bechor gets the power of the prayers because he guarded the brit. Now, another thing a person has to do is to get the power of the prayer is to be able to give tzedakah. Even when you guard the brit and you fight your desires and you're able to pray and realize that Kadosh Baruch Hu is the one who can help you, you still need to pray for the right things. You need to be able to overcome your desires through giving away your money for the proper things. Therefore, he says when you give tzedakah on top of guarding the brit, this is going to give you the power of mishpat, judgment, and you're going to be able to focus and pray for the right things, and therefore you're going to have the power of prayer using it properly. Sometimes a person can have a weapon and not use it properly, so therefore the power of prayer is very powerful. You need to know how to use it properly. He says the next thing you have to do is you have to go and ikasher atzmo, the tzaddikim shebador. You have to connect yourself to the tzaddikim of the generation, because we know every tzaddik has a behinat Moshe Mashiach. He says everybody inside of them has a aspect of Moshe Rabbeinu, a soul, a spark of Moshe Rabbeinu's soul. That's why the Rambam writes, if anybody wants to, he could get to the level of Moshe Rabbeinu. That means because we have a spark of his soul in our soul. So therefore he says that everybody has to connect to the tzaddik of the Shabador, because a lot of times a person can be very, very religious, and a person can be doing a lot of mitzvot, but he doesn't have proper guidance. He could be focusing on the wrong things and putting too much effort and doing the wrong things. So therefore, a person could be wearing, let's say, the very, very special tefillin because he focused on tefillin, but then he's not careful of Lashon Hara, and he thinks he's doing halakha properly, and he's not, and he thinks he's doing something that he's being a good religious Jew. But really, he needs guidance. He needs someone to tell him, you need to focus this more. You need to fix that. And therefore, when a person has a Rabbi, when a person is connected to Tzaddik Shabador, he's going to be able to pray for the right things and be the proper person he's supposed to be. So therefore, he says that's what a person needs to do. And finally, he says that a person has to learn Torah. He says why? He says something very, very Kabbalistic right now. He says that we have to do, the Zohar Kadosh talks about how a person has to do Ma'aleh, Mayin Nukvin, and brings Mayin Duchrin. The spiritually, how does it work? Is we need to have female waters, we need to bring up the spirituality in this world, to bring it up to Shamayim, and through our mitzvot, in our tefillot, there's a certain tikkun, rectification that happens by uplifting these sparks from this world to Shamayim, and Kadosh Baruch Hu sees this and receives this tikkun, and he sees the tikkun we do in this world, and therefore he gives us mind dechorin, which means male waters. Now the shefa comes down. So therefore he says, when you learn Torah, you're gathering sparks. Every time you learn more and more Torah, you're gathering more and more sparks. And he says, when you pray afterwards, or you pray before, you uplift all the spirituality and all the sparks. And the mitzvot you did and the Torah you did, you gathered sparks, you prayed, now you uplifted the sparks to do the tikkun and shamayim they're supposed to do. And now you can wait for the shefa to come back, because you did the female waters, and now the male waters are going to come down. So therefore he says, that's why the Breslovers, they're very, very into the concept of praying and learning and praying. And even more than that, Rabbi Nachman made a big deal about it, of turning your learning into prayers. Meaning to say, if you look in the book Likutei Tefillot by Rabbi Natan, it says over there, all the lessons, goes lesson by lesson, Likutei Moharan, so we just learned lesson 1, right, last week. So you go with Likutei Tefillot, you're going to see lesson 1, there's a whole section of prayers connected to lesson 1, that everything we learned in lesson 1, he turned it into a prayer. Yiratzon, it should be that, I'm going to go and, we spoke about in lesson 1, what? We spoke about looking in the wisdom and everything, and realizing that Torah helps us see the purpose in everything, and having faith is also important. Flip-flopping between the Torah study and having faith in Hashem. So this whole tefillah that he wrote in Likutei Tefillot, it says, Yiratzon, I should be able to learn Torah. Yiratzon, I should be able to see the wisdom and everything. Yiratzon, even when I don't understand, I shouldn't have bad thoughts, and I should have faith in Hashem. So you see, he turned the whole lesson into a tefillah. So therefore he says, a person, every time he learns something, let's say he learned a new halakha. I learned with the rabbi new halakha, and he said, Rabbi, this halakha is very hard for me. But he says, you should should turn what you learned into a tefillah. You should go to HaKadosh Baruch Hu and say, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, I learned this halakha of XYZ. Please help me keep this halakha. Please help me find my Yetzer Hara. Please help me be on that level. And that way, it's not that you should just learn it and therefore you're going to be not so connected to it. You should take that learning and turn it into a prayer. And then when you take the learning, which is the sparks of the holiness that you got, you turn it into a prayer. Now you uplift it to Shamayim and you're going to bring a bigger shefa. So therefore he says that a person has to make sure to learn and to pray. That's the two combos together. And he says with this, that we prayed because we guarded the brit and we connected to give tzedakah, we connected to the tzaddik shabador, all these things together, they're going to be able to help us bring the biggest bracha into our lives. Baruch